Ginger Prime stands with a rallying call. Pixelit faith standing strong through it all. The frame rate may falter, but hearts won't fall. Chrono rewrites what you thought you knew at all. Late to the game, but his wisdom lands clean. Skill checks are off, that's the price of a dream. Gaming kinda brings the chaos and thrill, dropping rare loot with unshakable will. Forte holds the line, grace under the blade, faith like a fortress that never will fade. Scrag lights the fire with a storm in his breath. $80 flat for unfinished quests. Joy-Con still drifting, my patience long gone. But I'll queue up at midnight, you know I'll play on. Pull up a chair, the battle's begun. Legends are forged in the light of the sun. One life now saves, play it bold, take the lead. At the gaming roundtable where the fearless plant every seed. Reshine by riding tree. Ride no please. Rise to the fire, no checkpoint in sight. One heart, one strike through the endless night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable. We have assembled, and this week is no shortage of news. Now, just as a note for those of you listening in on the audio, I am in the new office. We are still working on soundproofing and getting this all set up, so there might be a slight little echo in my audio, but I would appreciate if you guys enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and also check out the other content from these amazing creators who are all linked in the comments below. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in live. We record this live on Fridays traditionally, but with the 4th of July holiday tomorrow, we decided we'd go a little bit early, and we have breaking news. And I think that's where I'd like to start with today's breaking news, because we're going to talk about Xbox being a dying console. We're going to talk about the layoffs. We're going to talk about Stop Killing Games in this podcast. But first, I think we should talk about some interesting twist of news, and that's Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. But before we start with that subject, like I said, we got amazing creators. Chrono, how are you doing today, sir?
I'd be doing better if Microsoft would quit making dumb decisions. But hey, it's Freedom Weekend here in the States, so I've got a lot to look forward to. I'm about to put some meat in the smoker tonight to let it go till like midday tomorrow. So I'm pumped.
A lot of people got some freedom from their jobs this week.
Yeah, unfortunately,
which is crazy. Scrag, how's everything with you, dude?
It'd be great if my back didn't just like absolutely want to kill me right now. But other than that, pretty good.
Getting older, like that's the thing. So I told Scrag in the pre-show that he cursed me because he's hurt his back, and I was like, this morning I was cutting up strawberries for Mikey's cereal, and for some reason I tweaked. I got some kind of back spasm in my left shoulder blade. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's just the joy of getting older. Sometimes doing the most nothing heroic, right? I wasn't slaying a dragon or protecting or sacrificing my body for the sake of somebody else. No, I was cutting up strawberries. And so that's something that anybody who is under the age of 30 can look forward to as they continue to become and level up as a gamer. We got Logan in chat. Thank you so much for being here with the salute and the different comments. So we like to highlight your comments, and it can drive the structure of the show. Go ahead, Chrono.
Say, that's my boy Logan. I know him.
Nice, dude. Well, welcome in, guys. Like I said at the show open, Helldivers 2 is now officially coming to Xbox. This isn't being published like what we've seen with the MLB, because that was the excuse that the Sony pony gave. Like, it was, no, this isn't a PlayStation published Xbox game. This is the MLB, and they weren't wrong. And the MLB said, if you want to keep the license, you got to take what I would define as the premier baseball game in existence to all the different platforms. And that is essentially what happened. Then today, before we get ready to go with the show, literally PlayStation themselves publishing Helldivers 2 coming in August. Interestingly enough, on the same day Gears of War Reloaded, or what I think that's the term, is coming. What do you think, Chrono? How did the news sit with you? Is this good news? Is this confusing news? Is it bad news?
Well, it's interesting because if I remember right, when Helldivers 2 launched, it was a month and a half in. People were like, if this was on Xbox, this would be really cool to just bring those people in and bring those players in and let them, fight for Super Earth with the rest of us. And it was almost like the dev team was like, hey, we would like to, but it could be a long time. And so fast forward to now, we're getting it in August, but I feel like there must be a longer term plan for the game, because so much has happened that if you were to jump in now, I feel like you're just going to jump in wherever the story is, globally, and good luck,
Lore
So
accurate.
I think it's cool. I think it's going to be cool that people are getting to play it. Like, that's awesome on Xbox. Like, a lot of us Xbox fans were like, hey, we'd like to play it if, we could. And personally, I could have picked it up months ago on PlayStation or PC. I just didn't. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a smart move.
Chrono, I'm sorry. I was thinking, Chrono, what do you think about what if the game comes as Xbox Play Anywhere?
That would be wild. That would be a surprise, because then that would mean Sony's publishing onto the Microsoft Store, which, I mean, they haven't done yet.
Well, where they're doing that technically with Xbox, that's one of the biggest things that always has tickled me, is that Xbox as a console that hooks up to my TV is just a restricted version of Windows.
Right.
It doesn't let that. And Xbox is moving away from that. They're going to allow other stores onto the platform. I wonder if any of this was like, if I was a fly on the wall, the one question I would really just kind of like to know for my own curiosity's sake is that, when was this decision made to bring Helldivers 2 to the Xbox? Was it made a year ago and they're like, hey, this is going to be a part of our plan? We're going to just really kind of, let this thing kind of, light a candle under everybody, but then eventually we'll bring it otherwhere? Or was it like, Xbox is doing this and they're going to have Helldivers 2 on the Xbox through Steam in ETA, 10 months or something like that, whatever the structure is. Let's just go ahead and just put it out there and make some extra money. What do you think?
I think they must have justified that there's enough of a demand to release it on Xbox. I think the porting process probably wasn't the big dev effort that we may have assumed it would have been, right? I think those days are long behind us, where going from, if we're publishing a PlayStation game, porting it to Xbox is really not that difficult anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas even last gen, that was an argument that could be made, but now the systems are so similar, like it doesn't matter.
They're all on AMD, right? Like it's like
it's like custom, right? But like you can work past that. There is work to do, but I don't think it's this massive undertaking that it would have been one or definitely 2 generations ago. And so
it's gonna be interesting to see how that port was received, because you're right. Like, how does this run? Does it have any issues?
And then how does it run on the Series S? Because is Helldivers 2 deck verified? Does it run on Steam Deck?
It does run on Steam Deck, and there are a little bit, like performance issues, pop-ins, etc. But that's the nature of the Steam Deck. And so for me, I'm like, I don't know, I just have these expectations with a handheld like Steam Deck that it's like, it's not going to be my big PC gaming experience, but it's going to get the job done.
Right.
Because I was telling Scrag in the pre-show, spent the last like 3.5 days installing Final Fantasy 11 on the Steam Deck. Turns out that runs like a dream. A 25-year-old game runs incredibly well on Steam Deck without any problems. So we're good there. Scrag, what's your reaction to the Helldivers 2 Xbox publication? Because for me, I feel like, because this is what I wanted. I was like, why are they not publishing it everywhere? But there's a bigger narrative that we're going to kind of get into here in a second. But I'd like to get your kind of hot take.
Overall, I think it's a good thing, but I really feel sorry for the Gears of War devs, because their work is going to go unrewarded. Like,
is it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, dude, Helldivers 2, that's so freaking hype. It's
It's
so hype.
new. It's new, but it has the hype train. See, that was my big
And
question.
you know
Has the
what's
hype
not
train already
hype?
left?
400-pound, 6'9" men with chainsaw guns. That's not very hype. They're
Really,
not even
I love
games.
Gears of War.
What a
I
bold
love
take.
Gears
I
of
know,
War.
me too.
But-
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not riding the nostalgia train with Microsoft right now, and we'll get into some of that. But like, that's a game that I'm excited to play, but only because I've played the original. If I've never played Gears, I don't know if I'd jump in now. So I guess maybe I see Scragg's point accidentally here.
I mean, I never really thought it was cool. That's just my take.
Oh,
I'll
it's
put
just
it that
fun.
way.
It's just it's like brainless fun is how I think of it.
Like,
Maybe Helldivers 2 is that way.
The gameplay looks fun. Like, I have played the Gears of War 1 or 2, one of those back in the day. But just like for me, aesthetically, I'd much rather be like a stormtrooper who's disposable going up against like unimaginable odds rather than backwards bandana dude smoking a cigar.
Surrounded by plot armor.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I can see that. It's interesting that they chose Gears like Reloaded's release day, because that game on PlayStation is gonna sell really well day one. Like, people are gonna buy it.
You have an entire section of gaming culture that has never played a Gears and maybe has always wanted one, but like, there's the reality is not everybody gets to be and have all the consoles and thus play all the games. At some point, I remember you had to kind of pick and choose your winner. Like, I'm a Nintendo guy. I held off on my Xbox for eons because I was a diehard Nintendo fanboy. Good Lord, I'm glad I wasn't on the internet at that
I
point
know,
in time.
right?
Those clips would come back. There was a game, and I don't know if anybody remembers this one, but you could possess the body, like you were kind of a specter and you would kind of possess. And so it was a first person shooter. And I was like, okay, I had the multiplayer and had the story, etc. And I was like, this is going to be the Nintendo GameCube's Halo killer. Man, how wrong I was.
Canceled.
Well, you know how Gears could get me on board. Okay, hear me out. Do a collab with Shift Up, get Eve and some Nikes in Gears of War, and I'll do it. I'll play. It'll be hilarious.
All right, we'll make that
That'd
happen.
be interesting.
The camera angle is perfect for that. You know, the saying.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, I love Gears.
Yeah.
But also what's really cool, and I've played both, but this is going to be something interesting because there's a section of the population, and this will kind of tie into what Yerman's talking about, but there's a section of the population that's on Xbox that hasn't played Helldivers 2. So this is going to be where, maybe I've played Gears. This is a new game I can go and check out. Honestly, I don't see any losers in this situation.
That's where I'm interested that this is like Sony's first like push for one of their service games to go to Xbox. I would say multi-platform, but I mean, they're launching most of them on PC. And it's also interesting because if we consider the marathon delay, that would have been an Xbox release as well. So does this kind of make up for the fact that they weren't releasing Marathon at all? It's from a pure like sales numbers, player count perspective. You know, Helldivers is definitely going to benefit from this, but I do wonder how long ago was this decision made? And will Sony consider all of their live service or any multiplayer first efforts to go multi-platform from day one going forward?
That's a really excellent question, and that's what has we don't know yet. Right. I honestly don't understand why they wouldn't. But back to Yemrin's kind of question, is it even worth getting an Xbox these days? Xbox seems hell bent on like, if you want the hardware, you can buy it. We're going to also increase the price, by the way. So it's like, if you were on the fence, let me help push you further away from jumping on this train.
Just buy a PlayStation and be patient.
It's not even that, because Xbox is going to be releasing their stuff day and date. And that's not just the multiplayer stuff. That's pretty much everything. Anybody who's holding on to the hope that like Microsoft's going to be like, this one game is exclusive to the Xbox, doesn't understand what they mean with Play Anywhere. They've completely changed. And so I have felt that what Yerman's kind of hitting at in chat. And also, by the way, looks like YouTube has given us an upgrade. Yerman's our #1 top fan. So thank you, Yerman. It's got a little icon by his name. So if y'all are watching the live stream, keep chatting and we'll see how that what this feature is entails. But since Play Anywhere, Xbox has become an optional piece of hardware. As a gamer, as a dad, as somebody who wants flexibility, I actually appreciate that. I appreciate that I've invested in a really kick-ass PC. And then I've appreciated Play Anywhere so that I can continue my game and my saves in any part of the house that I have. So the value for Xbox and me is that it's a value add product. It's not a necessity. And I enjoy that level of freedom. And maybe I'm weird by that because I have not connected into what people define as the PlayStation diehards. Meaning, if it isn't Final Fantasy, chances are I wasn't picking up a PlayStation to play Uncharted. That wasn't my kind of game. I'm not picking up a PlayStation, with the exception, of Ghost of Tsushima. That game is incredible, and that's now on Steam. And so, like, the idea that, especially as somebody who with a busy schedule and a lot of things going on, I don't have a lot of worry about waiting for a game to come out. So honestly, I would take what Yerman is saying and ask the same question to you guys, but also ask, is it even worth getting a PlayStation 5 these days, especially if you're in this age of PC gaming and waiting? What do y'all think? We'll start with Scrag.
Never has been.
There you go. There you have it.
That's the short. And scroll on up to the next one. What do you think?
No,
You're
right though. You're right. Like the only thing keeping me from going like all in on PC is convenience. The consoles still offer a level of convenience that I can, my kid can pick up the Switch or the Xbox or the PlayStation controller and just start playing a game. Whereas if she were to sit down in front of my PC, one, I'd be like, what are you doing? And two, just if she tries to run a game, it's probably going to run weird if I haven't, run it first and configured it all. And then, from that perspective that, I like the convenience of consoles. I will never not like the convenience of consoles, but I do wonder with the ROG Ally X, and that new focused Windows gaming UI or whatever they're going to call it. Mm-hmm. We've been calling it Xbox OS. Does that change that? That remains to be seen. But I think being all in on one console doesn't really matter anymore. Like it hasn't mattered for a while, but if it's console versus PC, obviously PC is the better choice. But if it's individual consoles versus PC, I think it's really irrelevant, especially now that third parties are coming to Switch 2, and everybody seems to be publishing on both PlayStation and Xbox storefronts now. Just pick what you want. Do you like the DualSense, or do you like the Xbox controller better? I think that's what it comes down to.
I'm very curious because what I'm looking for, what I'm judging this Xbox ROG Ally handheld. Honestly, whoever names things at Xbox should be hopefully got fired as a part of the layoffs. Like there are certain roles that I would have been like, yes, thank you, fire that dude. Like he sucks.
Turns out it was Phil Spencer.
It was Phil Spencer the whole time. We'll talk about that because there was rumors about him retiring. Microsoft has come out and said, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. But Logan in chat says the main pro of consoles is the plus and the play of it. The only drivers I have to worry about are the ones on the road. And to his point, that's exactly what I'm judging this next leap into whatever the future of gaming is that are they able to bridge the convenience and the ease of use of console with the flexibility and power of the PC? Because SteamOS does this, right? So it's like, that's what I think. And that's why I call this Xbox OS. It's just, a modified version of Windows, which is what Xbox already is running on. If they can bridge these two concepts so that I can have any store that I want and play my games, but then I don't have to worry about the drivers, the pop-ups. One of the things people have complained about with the existing Windows 11 ROG Ally now is that when you go to install or play a game, you still get the Windows like security features popping in, like, do you approve of this? And then maybe that doesn't actually open up on your window, so it's behind something, and you get, like, it is a logistical nightmare that Windows, in that kind of space and that kind of arena feel. So if the Xbox ROG Ally can do that, can bridge this gap, I think it will be a preview of what's to come with their next console. I use the term in quotes, but I think that's essentially what I'm looking for, is that I want the ease of use, but I want the power. And that's what cloud has given me. And that's why anybody who's followed my content for a long time, big fan of GeForce Now. It does that. It bridges the power of the PC with the ease of use of console. I don't have to worry about updates. I don't have to worry about any of that. Will the next Xbox, will that be the system that the reason you get it, the reason you hook it up to your TV in the first place is you have freedom. It's like, yep, I have these games and I don't have to worry about managing another PC in the house. Thoughts?
Yep. I have a counterpoint.
Go ahead.
All right.
I love
console
counterpoints.
gamers. I understand it's convenient to plug in a black box that looks like a refrigerator into your TV and then just start playing the games. I get it. However, 7-year-old little Scrag was building his first PC out of a box of scraps and learned marketable skills at the age of 10. Perhaps your children should
We're talking
learn
about
the
40-year-old
skills.
men console warring, by the way.
We're trying to ruin the gaming industry over here.
I'm just saying there are marketable skills to be had from suffering from being a PC gamer. I totally do love the convenience of picking up my Steam Deck, hitting the power button, hitting X on the game I want to play, and then it just runs. That's also awesome, which is something you can also do. Just saying. The convenience thing is a little bit outdated once SteamOS becomes more like streamlined for PCs, because when you click a game, it automatically goes, you need these. It downloads them, and then it runs it.
Completely agree.
Here pretty soon.
Once that happens, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think once we can figure that out, and it's going to be, Steam tried with the Steam boxes a while back, retried with Steam Deck, and that seems to be the way to go. With Microsoft's push for whatever they're doing, if it works, great. If it doesn't, then everybody's going to build little Linux machines that run SteamOS, and those will be sitting on everybody's TVs.
Awesome.
Anyway, that excuse is it's
running out.
Numbered.
Its
days are numbered. Because here pretty soon you're gonna be able to go to Best Buy and be like, "Hey, I want the Steam PC," and then you come home and it's like this big, and you plug it into your TV, and then you plug in a controller and it just works. That's gonna be a thing pretty soon, hopefully, but it's not there.
I think there's gonna be an app on your TV for also a lot of people. Like, hey, your smart TV,
yeah,
GeForce Now. I think. XCloud already's on there, and XCloud. The thing is that, I've always I'm really interested to see what they do with that platform with Xbox, because GeForce Now is far superior. I would say it was Stadia, GeForce Now, and then XCloud, and now that Stadia has yeeted itself into existence, largely because of the Microsoft acquisition of Activision. Google's like, oh crap, we're out. We're not going to fight this fight. Largely because of that, but it's like XCloud, there's a noticeable difference in quality, and I really want to see what they can do with that platform, because that really enables Play Anywhere. But I would venture to bet we're going to see the Sony Cloud app added to smart TVs at a minimum. But this is going to be my major troll on YouTube moment. The second that it's like you just have like a very simple, easy to use PlayStation app on your PC, it's like a day and date. It's like first party day and date, because it's now you don't need a PlayStation. And they're testing that out on, it's not with every game, but I think that's the runway, unless for some reason something changes and all of a sudden the internet just gets worse globally.
Is there Steam Remote Play on smart TVs yet?
I haven't seen it on smart TVs, but
they need to get on that. Because
I'm a Roku house. We don't get any remote play. We don't even have xCloud.
People still buy the little Steam box links, Steam links.
Mm-hmm.
They go for $200 or $300 now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
People still use them. They're great. It just runs off of your PC, just like you can stream off on a Steam Deck. You can stream on that thing. They need an app that does that too, just like the phones, because they have it on phone as well.
It's on. It's the Steam link is on the Steam Deck. It's on my Logitech G Cloud. So it runs on Android. So if you get one of these smart TVs that's running Android, you have that. It's
Yeah.
you know they're not gonna. I haven't seen anything going about restricting that access. But I'm gonna toss the question to anybody who's watching this, perhaps as a clip or a short. Like, what do you think about Helldivers 2 on Xbox? Little too late? Is it signs of things to come? The holdout that I see, people are having is that it's just going to be the multiplayer games, which at the end of the day, cool. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. But does this eventually lead to a road where the games are just everywhere and you can just buy the games and play the games? Sound off in the comments, hit that like button, and thanks for watching that discussion. Let's move into our next topic. I want to talk about, and Scrag, you brought this up because I've seen people even in our comment section talking about this, the $42 cash shop Final Fantasy 14, set of gear. And I think especially in line with what we saw with the live letter, which I saw something from Yoshi P talking about how they're going to be bringing in a normal mode. They've heard the feedback. They're working on it. And honestly, kudos to him and the team for responding and taking that action. And hopefully the backlash that they saw was kind of a catalyst for them getting that stuff rocking and rolling. But $42, my goodness. Does this have any future connection in with the Final Fantasy 14 mobile? We know 14 mobile doesn't have subscriptions. Is this the sign of things to come? Because I just, for me, I'm not a guy who's going to spend money on it, but somebody still said $42. And I was like, that's a copy of No Rest for the Wicked. And I'm going to get way more enjoyment out of that.
I bought 16 on sale for 45 this week. An entire game.
Yeah, that's the real question. Is this horse armor? Is this is this?
Oh, sorry.
I was saying, is this just a question to clarify? Because I saw the reactions. I've seen the releases on it. Is this literally just cosmetics, like $40 cosmetics? And
it's not even sexy enough to like not sexy as in skin showing, but it's not cool enough to justify that price.
So they're really just trying to pull a Fortnite with, here's a thing, and we put this big price tag on it.
Even Fortnite only charges like $15. So
they've got $20 and $30 bundles for just, and it's all purely cosmetic, but it's all licensed. It's attached to a bigger brand. So some of that is understandable. I don't want to pay more than $10 for a skin, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, we've had mounts before that were like $30 or something like that. Like the multiplayer mounts where you could like carry like 8 people. But I mean, like in that case, I'm like, yeah, whatever. All right, that's a feature that's like not normally available in the game. Like, I guess that makes sense. But for this, it's like literally okay, they've done different versions of cosmetics before, but usually like it's not so subtle of a change. Like in this case, the main difference that I could see was like one version of the outfit had the legs of the pants rolled up a little bit. Like, you're gonna charge a whole extra set of cosmetics just for like pants to be rolled up a little bit? Like, why? And then also, like I said, like for the price point, it is not near cool enough to justify that price.
That's, in my mind, this is just the logical conclusion of fashion is the true end game. That it's like at some point, hey, it takes so much money to make content. We could just put this in the cash shop and people are going to buy it. Like you got the Fantasias. When you go and look at the cash shop, it's inconvenient to use. What I think would be a real wild sign, it's not the price. Do they ever add access to the cash shop in game?
You can see it in game.
What's up?
You can see the cash shop in game. You just can't do anything with it. You just preview them on your character.
How long until that barrier of entry goes away? How long until they were able to separate you from your money in a much more convenient way?
Mobile, probably.
More than likely, because every mobile game, the store is right there in your face as soon as you open the app. Like if the monetization at that level is that major of a component. Like you're going to open the game, you're going to get news, and then you're going to get latest store deals. And so, yeah, I could see that happening.
RSJ fan, you can get them on the MOG station on the browser.
All right. So at the end of the day, like, it's optional content. So when somebody just puts a price on that, right? Like when prices go up, we've seen the frustration with $80 games. I just buy less. Like, it's like, okay, you've already priced me out. And sometimes I wonder if they price things so high that when they have a sale and all of a sudden that $42 set is $24, that people are like, oh, I'm going to get it now because what a deal, what a bargain. But it's still essentially like, yeah, that's 2 months of your sub. In this case, it'd be like 3-ish plus months of Final Fantasy 14 sub. And it starts to get to the point where, like, what is the sub even for? What's its value bringing to the game outside of just a consistent revenue stream from your most diehard fans, as opposed to how the game is structured, where most people just play it expansion to expansion and take that break and then just go play the story and then come back and for the next expansion. So go ahead.
I was watching a Zeppla video on this, and she brought up a good point. It was like in Final Fantasy, in World of Warcraft, when you pay your subscription, you get points for a store in game to buy cosmetics that were on the cash shop. Like every month, you get I think it's like 1,200 or 2,400 points, and like you can go get free cosmetics. And in Elder Scrolls Online, when you subscribe, I mean, it's free, but if you subscribe, they give you money towards cosmetics and like optional DLC every month as well. So like in 14, I'm not saying that they have to do this, but it might make sense to do it because there is it's a questionable like situation now. Like when the cash shop was introduced, they were telling us like, oh, the cash shop is going to be used specifically to fund 14. But is that even really happening now? So if it's not happening anymore, then maybe you should give us cash shop vouchers when we subscribe now. Just saying.
I'm just saying there's no cash shop in Final Fantasy 11. That's still sub-based.
Well, I mean, there is, but it's not legal.
Very true. Good point. Fair counterpoint to that. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts about Final Fantasy 14's pricing with the cosmetics. I've seen several you've sent already in the comments below, and I'd like to know, like, is this something that you're going to rush out to buy? Is this something where you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to choose not to engage with the cash shop? What would be the line in the sand? Would it be adding the ability to buy these items from within the game, or essentially it just feels like a tax on your most dedicated players anyway, who are paying a sub, paying for these cosmetics? So you're just trying to farm as much money. It will be interesting to see, because right now the game doesn't feel like that Square Enix has been funding it appropriately, but we covered that heavily in our last podcast. But beyond that, let's dive into our next topic. This start of the week was really interesting. You had original OG Xbox, creators coming out, not content creators, the people who actually made the platform, talking about how they feel like Xbox's console hardware is dead. And they made a lot of comments about like kind of what's even Xbox as a gaming identity nowadays. And this kicked up a lot, of discussion, obviously, over on like X and various different social media platforms. And we kind of touched on this a little bit with Helldivers 2 being published on Xbox. It seems like that's a weird, confusing kind of thing. Like, if the console hardware is going away, why is Sony even going to consider doing this, doing this publication of this one game? What is the value to the customer? And I would think that if nothing else, it does seem like there is still life within what it means to be an Xbox. But do you guys subscribe to the idea that everything's an Xbox, or at least that marketing campaign? Is it just marketing PR, or is there like a real a vision kind of driving this change?
I mean, it's just their catchphrase right now. It is marketing, and I agree with that side of it. The idea that everything is an Xbox, I mean, obviously my iPhone is still an Apple product, and I'm going to do more on it than just stream Xbox games. Whereas when I think Xbox, I think dedicated gaming device. And so maybe they're trying to change our perspective, our perception of what an Xbox is. But then they go and announce partnerships with AMD that they're making new hardware. And then, you know, I know we're going to probably talk about it later, but then they go and, you know, have Microsoft has major cuts to, you know, the entire workforce that hit Xbox heavily. So it's like, is everything okay or isn't it? And I think that's where the messaging is getting messed up.
We got to be a little bit honest too. The only reason any of us ever bought an Xbox was Halo and Call of Duty. And those suck right now. Just
Agreed.
saying. So
Yes.
they need something. They need something for somebody to want to buy the console other than just being an Xbox fan. Because from my point of view,
the confusing part.
I don't see anything.
That's
right?
Because anything they have to offer is elsewhere. So I don't need to buy it. You know, the only thing that honestly has kept me on Xbox this long is my digital library being carried forward. I'm still accessing my 360 games.
Yeah.
Physical and digital from that perspective.
That's why, like, I'm not worried that at this moment right now, not all Xbox games are going to run on the Xbox ROG Ally, but they have committed, they've communicated, they've committed that this is going to be where they're going to go. And I've stated that even if it isn't all of my entire catalog day one on the Xbox ROG, I think that's going to be something that as time goes on, those emulation, that port's going to be made, or they're just going to have an emulator that basically handles it in Windows. But like I'm not worried about that because they handle backwards compatibility so much so that I have no issue buying into the Xbox ecosystem because of things like Play Anywhere, because I can take those games and my saves to any of my devices. Like it literally has been like, that checks out. Where going from the PS3 to the PS4, I lost all of my library. So I was like, all right, never mind.
And they've been able to convince third parties to actually bring games to the Xbox that previously weren't there. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 launching on the Xbox was mind-blowing. I know, Scrag. The game did come out. It does exist.
No, I don't think it did. I think you're making shit up.
It came out on the Xbox.
There was no Final Fantasy characters in that game. That's not Kingdom Hearts. That's just a Disney
that's
clone.
fair. That's fair. But like why? Like how did they manage that? Like they've obviously been able to convince people to put their games on the hardware, but then at this point, it's like they've let us down with their major releases time and again. I mean, Halo Infinite, the launch was rough. It was weird. They broke promises that they made to keep split screen and some of the content and the things they said would be at launch. They're like, oh well, we're working on it, and it was probably, I think it was at most 6 months we waited for some of the features to actually hit as far as customization and stuff goes. And then now we have Perfect Dark got canceled, and Everwild, and now the initiative, the studio working on Perfect Dark, gone. So whatever they were doing, clearly, I don't know how much longer I can watch stuff I want Xbox to release. And like I can watch it get announced and get excited for it just to have the rug pulled out because economy bad. We gotta make decisions. And I'm not saying
stop doing
I'm not
the
saying
thing
those,
that makes us money because we don't have any money.
Yeah. It's like what's happening at this point? Do we just have to do the Call of Duty machine? Is that what we're becoming over on the Xbox side? Because now they have Activision.
It's gonna be interesting because obviously, I agree with Scrag. Like the reason we bought in, and then I like what RSJ, is staying with, why they stick around because of things like Game Pass, backwards compatibility, Play Anywhere, the community, the games.
100% agree.
Yeah, Game Pass is a staple. Like as especially a parent, I know people may be like, oh, you're just renting games. I'm like, great. I used to rent games as a kid all the time.
Fact.
And that was that, and that isn't an option to go out to a store and rent a game. Game Pass. It's a heck of an option, especially with the kids. It's like, go play that game.
Let's be real. Physical games are dying anyway. When you buy a game, you're really just renting it until they shut the servers off. So, like we can make that argument.
Well, I think that's a great segue because like I do want to touch on the layoffs, but my feeling is like, guys, you're going to get laid off. Like everybody gets laid off. Protect yourself, live a debt-free life. And, when your boss says, sorry, we're going to lay you off, let that be a celebration day. We're like, oh, I'm free to do whatever I want now, as opposed to like, but I need this job because I have a car payment, like things like that. So that's usually how I always treat these kind of bad news cycles, where it's like, yeah, that sucks. Like it sucks.
This one before we get on stop killing games. This particular announcement though was so much more frustrating than the last few, because how many times has Microsoft cut employees and like just been like, okay, it's just like middle managers, mergers and acquisitions. There's a lot of duplicate roles and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like I can understand it does suck to lose your job, and I'm not saying good for them. It's just at this point now, it's like you're cutting projects and positions that were working on things we were looking forward to, and I think at that point it's like, okay, what the heck is even happening at Microsoft? What are they? Is the end goal just to release Call of Duty every year and flood the Microsoft store with the microtransactions? I mean, it already is, but like I don't like where they are right now, and I'm really frustrated. Like being an Xbox fan, it's like, what do I have to look forward to? Xbox? Nostalgia?
Yeah. Like I've often remarked that being a Final Fantasy fan and an Xbox fan is sometimes the hardest thing to be. Like within any kind of gaming, you get no sympathy from anybody. It's just like, like, oh yeah, whatever. But the now that seems to be healing in some weird way. Like we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's hard to be an Xbox fan, because even if they come out and do something really freaking cool, my joke has always been, just give them a day. They're going to find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. They're going to find a way to be like, hey, did you see that Xbox did this really cool thing the next day? And then they fired 15,000 people. Yeah. And you're just like, okay, well,
that's kind of why this Helldivers 2 announcement feels weirdly timed, right? Because it's like everybody's mad at them, and then they're just like, ooh, shiny thing. And it's like, no, I'm mad at you.
Well, that's the thing, especially with the news cycle. It's that who's really mad about the thing we were mad about 3 weeks ago? Like, I can't even remember like if I was mad about something 3 weeks ago. And it's like, okay, so then it's new shiny thing. Yeah, and then
I'm
3 weeks.
Mad about the Nintendo Switch too,
dude. One second, y'all. I'm gonna show y'all something.
Uh-oh. What happened?
He's going to get it. He's going to get the Switch too.
I'm gonna story time, boys. Let's go.
Oh no! Is it
so? I have to send in my Switch 2 for repair. I've got the ticket created. I got finally printed it out. I'm getting ready. Like I haven't sent it just because like moving back into the house is so chaotic. But if I can show it to in the camera, y'all can see this. It doesn't hit charge in the dock. It came this way. So I can plug in. I in a way, and I didn't want to try to unbend it myself and void a warranty. So anyway, so yeah, it's bent in there, right? So it doesn't go into the dock. I can plug it in charge from the bottom just fine, but it won't sit in the dock, so it doesn't connect to the TV. That's kind of killing one of the value aspects of it. All right, here I am. Last night, working late, doing all these different things. Kids come to me, they're like, "Hey, Dad, do you know what happened to the Joy-Con?"
I guarantee. I guarantee one of them knows what happened to the Joy-Con.
They want me to send this, and I was like, now I need to call and do another ticket because the daggum Joy-Cons, and it's like these things suck. Like they did on the Switch 1 as well, and I'm like, I say it's hard to be an Xbox fan. I am in an abusive relationship with Nintendo because they like do so many good things that I like.
The weirdest Nintendo Switch stories. I've got to be honest.
This has been an absolute like living multi-week nightmare. Honestly, I feel like it's just karma from those that are so mad about the Switch 2 price that they're like, well, you deserve it. And I was like, I have no counter argument. I feel like I do.
Look at you ruining gaming. Stop
ruining gaming. That's what we do around here. But anyway,
Brian
so that's
has the worst takes. He ruins gaming single-handedly.
I'm just like, good Lord.
Good gravy.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, I feel like I'm just like that guy that it's like, yeah, and I'm gonna buy the Donkey Kong game.
You're not even gonna have it.
Still?
Well, this is my second Switch 2. Like this is the family Switch 2. My kids are not allowed to touch my Switch 2. So I was like, I'm gonna have one. I have one profile on that, and it's just mine. And then, I was like, all right, I need a Switch. I was like, I'm gonna get a family Switch 2. We're gonna play Mario Kart together. This is the one the kids can use. It doesn't hook up to the TV, and so I've been letting them play in handheld mode. And boom, there we go. That's the. So then I'm like, y'all cannot touch my Switch 2. Like there's no. It does not exist, children.
Yeah. With my
like,
kid, the rule is here. If we're playing Mario Party, you can use the old Joy-Con. You can use the Switch 1 Joy-Cons. And then we were playing like Mario Kart. It's like you can use the Switch 1 Pro controller. You're not touching the new stuff. Yeah.
And the kids were like, hey, Dad, can we get another Switch 2? And I was like, you can get a job. I'm sticking to that. I'm sticking to that. Like, you guys, you want this. Like, this is my stuff. Like, I like playing games with the kids. So Nintendo is a really logical choice because just, especially from a safety and an online perspective, I like Xbox's parental controls. I like the Nintendo Switch parental controls. It is great because I get more insight and a little bit more control because especially in this weird online world, there's just things that I just don't want to expose them to, but I do want to be able to play online and games with them. So good Lord. But yeah, no, Maddie's 12. No, she just turned 11. And so she went and mowed her Papa Texas lawn, saved up, got, I think $110 because of her birthday and savings and things like that. And then with the goal of getting a Switch 2. And then apparently I get off work the other day and apparently she spent 95% of her entire savings on all these other little things that she was wanting. I was like, oh, I thought you were saving up for this. And she's like, I am. I was like, you have an interesting way of saving money.
I thought you were going to say she bought one Switch 2 game.
No.
That would be funny.
That would have been probably 90 some odd percent.
How you plan on playing that, kiddo?
She's diehard physical. Like it's so strange for a 2025 kid. So it's like, all right. Anyway, that's kind of a nice little levity with essentially what we were talking about with the layoffs. But then we were going to pivot into the stop killing games. And I think that's a really interesting question because there's a Streisand effect like in full force. So there's a degree in which that with Pirate Software, I'm very happy that he has decided to take this stance and then double down on it. And he has also just announced today that he's stepping away from his game studio because of review bombing, to which I saw a lot of indie devs mad at him for that because they're like, you just fed the trolls. They're going to know that they're going to go and do that. And we're going to see more review bomb campaigns, especially hurting these smaller to mid tiers. So it's like,
I don't think that's why he's stepping down, but okay.
All right. Well, why? Like, let's get the conspiracy, hats on. Let's go.
I don't want to get us in trouble.
Get us in trouble, man. That's
all right. So for a long time, people have been saying this game should have been done a long time ago. But the response to that is, my dad worked at Blizzard. I know what I'm doing. Okay. So,
well, did Thor
walk on the podcast? May be stepping down because of trolls and review bombing or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just, I don't know how to get it done. So I'm just going to use this as an excuse to step away and not work on that for a while. So that's my conspiracy theory. He can hate me all he wants. I don't care. I'm just a small nobody. Sue me. That's my voice, not yours.
I just, man,
my dad worked at Cinemax, by the way.
It just feels like he, if we're talking about the personality there, I just don't understand the position he took, and then I'm glad to see the stop killing games movement gain a lot of steam. I mean, they were at like 90-something%.
I'm yesterday. All for it. Like since it was announced and the thing was, it's European signatures. Okay. Like,
yeah, I can't do anything.
Sharing over here from the US because now that could be huge for us.
There's a part of me, and a controversial take maybe, but like there's a part of me that's like, I don't like government overreach.
True.
It can go too far, and it most likely will with the EU. Whatever your stance is on that.
It's a healthy balance. There is good regulation, so it's not all regulation bad. It's essentially in a way consumer protections, right? Because that's what really this movement has been about. That's why, like, I'm all for it. I'm for the conversation. I'm for the nuance to kind of find where our digital rights come in. We've seen it proposed here in the United States, a digital bill of rights, which I think is something that, in this new age would be valuable. I don't like that Steam has to tell me that I'm just buying a license. These things should be ours. There should be some level of ownership within our digital library. And I'm all for working that. I don't think it's going to be overnight. I think there's going to be mistakes everybody makes along the way, but I think it's an important aspect that I don't want to just be consumer, go consume and not worry about this stuff.
We have to protect consumers to an extent. It has to, we have to. Corporations will do anything that they are allowed to do.
$42.
I'm about to
cash shop stuff.
Fuck you over. Or they will stab you in the eye for 3 cents. All right.
I mean,
you have
we can
to
thank
be protected
Bethesda
a little
for
bit.
Force Armor, and look at where we are now.
Right. If it would make them money, they would kill your whole family. Okay. Just saying. So we have to be protected at least a little bit. Like this stuff with Nintendo, like, dude, they're getting sued in Brazil so hard, and they're gonna lose. I'm pretty sure.
They have got really good lawyers, but I am rooting for Brazil in this case. It's like one of the things that I've stated when people, back to the Xbox stuff, people said PlayStation's going to physically, like, they're going to come in and block Steam games from running on anything that remotely is labeled Xbox. And I was like, that's going to be a real interesting lawsuit that kicks up, because it's like saying, hey, you bought your game, it ran on the Intel and it ran on the AMD, but we decided that our games are only going to run on AMD because we signed this contract. And it's like, wait a minute, but I already have the game and it already runs. Why are you taking a platform option away from me?
Feeding the conspiracy. That's why I think Microsoft is pushing that this is an Xbox marketing, because when they do get to that point, they can just argue, well, we've dissolved what that means into being nothing, But even then, it's just like we obviously need the consumer protection side of it. It just needs some tweaking, and I think the overreaction by Pirate Software, it was too early.
Misunderstanding. He didn't understand the fundamental concept of the thing in the first place.
Well, he misrepresented it, and then he tripled down.
Right. Okay. So
it's like
he's gonna.
You're kind of like, dude, like,
but that's like. And him as a working in the games industry, working in software, should know the prototype conceptualization phase is nothing like the final product. Like the things on offer for the petition they need some tweaking. They need a lot of changes. They need a lot of legal backing to even have that exist, right? And so I don't understand his particular stance on it from that perspective. I appreciate his passion behind his stance. It's just, you could be passionately wrong over there.
Here's the thing, because I was even debating making a video about this specific topic, but then I kind of go back and forth because I don't try to trend chase, and there's clearly a trend about this topic and about Pirate Software. So I was like, well, I kind of waffled back and forth, but to talk about it here in the podcast is that he made this case that no one's going to make MMOs because of these. And he listed off the reasons, because, how are they going to make this game run forever? And it's that, in my mind, the law should be that it's like, if you're going to shut down your games as a service game, we have a concept with literature. It's called public domain. Yeah. So if you're going to shut down your game, be it, Warhammer Online, we've seen, WildStar, I think it should be required that then that code, that game enters into public domain and allows the people who really love it to play with it and experiment and see if they can't find a business model that runs, to host it on their own private servers, obviously at their own cost. It doesn't mean you have to keep your MMO or your games as a service game running until the heat death of the universe. It just means that there needs to be some kind of plan that needs, like, okay, because, and the thing that I was going to say in my video was specifically that I actually think that would help out games as a service games, because especially with MMOs, people are hesitant of investing their time and money into a new MMO because we've seen so many come and go. Right. And imagine if it's like, well, if that does happen, I still have my character. I can go host this on my own server. I can tweak this, and now I've got a private server for this game that I was enjoying. Like, I think it would help to alleviate some of that fear that players have, going like, well, if it shuts down, everything, all the stuff I bought on the cash shop is gone, all this, et cetera, that is gone. It's like, so I actually think it would be, having some of that would actually benefit MMO players, because all we're talking about is, hey, all right, you want to shut down the game? That's fine. You as a company, I don't want to sit here and make you go into bankruptcy and insolvency. However, public domain. I think that is essentially, that's my solution, and that's essentially what I was thinking about all that.
And it's not like that huge of a deal. I mean, it would take a little bit of quite a bit of dev time. But like, if you're going to shut down, let's say, for example, if they shut down Final Fantasy 14, they could export the table object for your character, the multiple tables that they have, I'm sure, send you an email attachment with like a zip file or something. And then when you want to play on a public-private server, you know what I mean? Community private server, you send them that attachment and go, hey, can you add this? That's my character. Like, that's not that huge of a deal. And we have not legal precedent, but we have an example of an MMO that kind of did what Stop Killing Games wants them to do. Dot Hack Fragment was an MMO for PlayStation 2, Japan only. On the disc was an exe file that ran a server on your PC. Now, it takes a little bit more configuration, but once it's configured to a node of servers, even today, maybe not anymore, but at least like 5 years ago, you can still play that game on someone's computer with them, and there would be dozens of people who can join. So, like, it might be asking a bit much to go, like, give us all your code, but at least give us an executable file to run a server somewhere.
Yeah.
The code would be ideal as a coder, but it's and the executable that you could install. And yes, it's not supported, it's not getting patched, et cetera, but people would still find ways to reverse engineer that. That's why, Horizon, XI exists. That's why Final Fantasy 11 private servers exist, is people just literally run that independently.
People still playing Phantasy Star Online from the Dreamcast because they've, reverse engineered the servers, and people are just still running those. There's a group of people that, still engage with that.
I played the Warhammer Online private server and had an absolute blast. And I looked at it, same thing, because I've talked about this, is that, reason I returned to Final Fantasy 11 was playing Pantheon and was really kind of struggling to kind of get to work on the Steam Deck and controllers. And it's like, the thing that this makes me want to play is Final Fantasy 11. Turns out that runs great on Steam Deck and runs great on controllers. Like, okay, like, what am I doing? Let me just return to that. But it's the same concept. It's, it's already kind of streamlined to the point. That's where with Warhammer, for example, why did I favor Final Fantasy 14 over that? It's like, well, it just made it easy. I can play it in more places, could play it on controller, and that's something that I always kind of look forward to. Guild Wars 2 as well. I said that in my video that I made this week. Literally, Guild Wars 2 and Final Fantasy 11 are the two kind of MMOs that I compare every other MMO and say, I wish they would insert this. And I stated, like, if Guild Wars 2 was controller support on consoles, etc., like, I would have a hard time not playing that game. They just make it real convenient for me to go play something else, which is, like, I think as gamers, we're definitely a path of least resistance kind of folks at the end of the day. Anyway, I shared a lot of thoughts. I'll let you guys kind of sound off.
Well, I understand the MMO side of it. Like, obviously, we would, if you're playing online, any multiplayer situation, you would want some way to keep playing. I believe older PC games that did, self-hosted servers, or you'd go to like GameSpy and stand up your public server or whatever. If the game quit being supported, you could still play your game. And that's what I think the biggest argument is: the single player side of gaming and the online check-in requirements that a lot of single player games are starting to have. And, you got to agree to the EULAs and the, scroll through some terms because you're just wanting to hop in and play, Horizon Zero Dawn on your PC or something.
Single player games with an online requirement is horseshit.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
They could just kill it at any time. And there's no,
and that's what happened with the Crew. The Crew was perfectly playable single player, but because Ubisoft integrated the online component so heavily, they went, the servers are off, so the game no worky, you don't own it anymore. And it's like,
Yeah, it's
we're not
absolute
falling
crap.
for that. Like it's a
Right.
crap reason
And
to tell me.
look what Ubisoft has been doing recently. It's like,
Right.
hey, guess what? You F around, you find out. Like people aren't going to be sitting here supporting you,
Right.
especially with that kind of mindset. That's where I think as consumers, we really do have a lot more power. The thing is, and this is what I've advocated for, is that really we need a consumer advocacy group that sits at these boards, because the ESRB, they represent the publishers.
Yeah.
They all they're there is to try and keep government agencies from getting their fingers too much into kind of the industry, which I get, right? Like there's good regulation and bad regulation, and sometimes you get both with any kind of trade-off. But when it's said and done, it's like it'd be great if we had a seat at the table and we have a vote, but we're so disjointed, and that's where it's like, hey, what can we do? How can games, how can this be more amicable? And I think, like, in my mind, I don't see any downsides to stop killing games. I've seen people try to make a case for some, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I think that's just fear mongering, misunderstanding, and then ultimately,
well, cost is a big one that they try to bring up. Oh, it'll cost so much more in dev. Like, we can't afford. You spent $300 million on Concord. You can afford a couple $1 million for like 10 devs for a couple years to figure this out.
I'm saying it's not even that. It's, hey, just have an offline like mode ready to go, right?
Yeah. Don't design your game to screw us over from the planning stages.
Right. And it's the same thing that I remember pushback against when, battle passes and like content passes first started rolling out. It's like you're buying either a DLC that doesn't exist yet at all. You're buying a promise, like it's like for pre-order, or you're buying DLC that was part of the main game but pushed off to make money, to sell as extra content. And this is like that next level, right? It's like I'm buying a game knowing full well that I may not be able to access it anymore, or I'm playing like a free to play online, like Fortnite or Pokemon Unite, or list any free to play game. I'm putting money into it, buying skins or whatever. That's basically the same as me throwing the money in the trash, because eventually that game will go offline and I do not have access to any of those purchases at all.
When Genshin Impact at some point down, billions of dollars are lost.
Yeah. It's already lost. You've already spent the money. The loss is already happened.
I mean, but like really lost.
Yeah.
You don't even get the thing you paid for anymore.
Right. And so like the fact that there's no recourse for that at all, and this conversation's long overdue in the industry. Like we had the wool pulled over our eyes by the new shiny thing. And now we're just accept that everything's online and we're just renting everything anyway. And we need to stop that.
Yeah, I'm fine with renting through things like Game Pass, because I think that just makes logical sense. But if I buy your game,
I want access to it.
I want access to it. And honestly, that's like, in my mind, and I know this is a dirty word online, but in my mind, the ownership of video games is the only thing that I can understand how an NFT could technically work and actually provide value, is that you have this. And then if you want to sell it, you can take it to other like you have this license. This follows you around through this wallet. And then if you wanted to sell it, you can. And that would, then there could be a smart contract baked into that, so that as a part of the resale of your license or the gifting out to somebody saying, hey, I'm not playing this game anymore, why don't you give it a shot? Be able to freely exchange that through the blockchain was the only thing I could logically see with the NFT where it isn't screwing over customers and it isn't a bunch of fake hype. They'll find a way.
They'll be like, oh, we're only making 1 million of these, and now we have a 15% smart contract. So every time you sell it, we get 15%.
So
and now the game is $3,000.
This is kind of
if the price goes up, that like I don't see any issue with the smart contract in that regards. Like
I do.
Hey, I sold you a game
and then horseshit. It's digital,
and then you sell it. Yes, but at the same time, like I get where the value is for the publishing company, because why they've gone away from physical, because like, oh, they sell and it can resell and they never see a dime of that.
But
so
what
they
you're
went
talking about,
digital.
we've heard Microsoft pitched this with the Xbox One, and it got them so much blowback because people didn't want it back then.
They weren't ready to show it too. Like to be fair to people, it's like I was like, oh, I see what they're going with. They should have showed it working because they talked about being able to trade your games digitally and all that
And
aspect.
the infrastructure wasn't there, and
the infrastructure wasn't there.
Now you
And
have blockchain.
Imagine if they just said it was that simple. You're like, hey, I finished playing this game. Here's my friends list. Let me just gift that to him, and boom. Then it's over to your friend. It's like, that's how you trade games. It's so easy. It's over. You don't have to be in the same physical space. It would have made PlayStation's whole joke fall flat because it's like, why do we need to be in the same space? We don't even live in the same state. I don't need to pay shipping. Now I could just press a button and it's yours,
Now we have game key cards on the Switch too that essentially are that's your NFT. Like you own the license in your hand.
How many people can you let borrow your key cards before it bans your console forever?
I think it's infinite. I think it's as long as that.
That's what I'm waiting. That's my next Switch 2 nightmare. It's like
you only got to buy like 4 more Switch 2s before we can figure it out.
I want someone to get like 200 Switch 2s and see how many game cartridge game keys they.
How many times it would
get banned.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for my Switch to be banned, like for no random reason. Like it's just, I think that's the next thing that can happen. That would be like, we get back on the podcast. What's Brian's Switch 2 tragedy story today?
Turns out your entrepreneur children are buying MIG switches and just dropping them in your Switch 2.
Maybe just start making those Joy-Cons out of whatever they make the Glocks out of, so they don't break so much.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm interested in like now I'm really interested in like third part, like somebody else coming in and making a pro version of the Joy-Con that it's like, it's like, oh dude, that pissed me off.
Okay,
I was like sour.
Shopping on Amazon, you're just buying, you got to like pay attention to who's selling what. So my Switch 1 I gave to some friends of mine when I got my Switch 2. I was like, here, GameStop's not going to give me much for it, and you guys had a lot of fun when we played Mario Kart, so here, you can now buy Mario Kart, play it. And so I gave it to them, and they were like, hey, we need some more controllers. It's like, well, I would recommend, I'm always first party. Like, I would just rather have not Mad Cats. I grew up buying Mad Cats controllers. I don't want that anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So looked on Amazon, and the knockoff Joy-Cons look identical to the actual Joy-Cons. So I think at that point, you could just buy some Joy-Con ones on Amazon for like $20-$25. They're going to work the same. It's pretty much the non-Nintendo branded Joy-Cons at that point, and you get the same performance. So that's an avenue you could go down.
Yeah, we'll see, because there's a couple things on the Switch 1 that I was like, oh, they feel like they have, and I was like, I never pulled the trigger. I kept putting them into my cart and just never got. I was like, I have this natural fear of like third party like accessories, but it seems like for the end of the day, like there's been some really good improvements along the way. Let's wrap up the show with kind of what we're playing. Let's start with Scrag. What you been playing? What you got? What's on your catalog?
So I bought some Final Fantasy games on the summer sale. I got 16 and 9. I've never played 9 before.
Ooh, a lot of rumors about the 9 remake too.
So I started 9 on the Steam Deck a little bit, and then I started playing 16 and someone watching. So that's been fun, kind of like cracking jokes back and forth about like how annoying Joshua is. And then
don't worry.
Okay, don't spoil it, please.
But, he gets more? No, just kidding.
Okay. And then I've been playing a tiny bit of 14. I've just been like working on my layout, like not really for like a grand re-entry. I just kind of like setting up 14 on convoluted control methods.
Very nice. Very nice. What about you, Chrono?
What have I been playing? I finished up Chrono Trigger for the first time ever very recently. As much as I was like, I've never like beat it, so I finally finished it. So I was thinking about picking up Chrono Cross on the Steam sale because it's like $7.
Chrono Cross I found super frustrating. I might, who knows, maybe I would enjoy it now, but I was like, as a Chrono Trigger, like was so excited, and Chrono Cross, and the way it starts, I was hooked until there was like a point, maybe it was midway or there was some point, several hours, maybe 20, 30 hours in or something, that I was like, and I never played this again. Like it was just like, all right, I don't like it.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. It's like a mixed bag. But then I've also, for some reason, started playing. I've been working slowly through the Kingdom Hearts series again, and started playing Chain of Memories, which is the card one. It's the least good one.
No, man, that's the best one.
But just sitting there spamming some of the same like broke attacks over and over, hey, it gets fun, you know. You can just
Actually, I
cheese your
take it
way
back.
through the game.
Birth by Sleep's probably the best one, actually.
No,
in my
I agree.
opinion.
That is a true statement. That's the first true statement you've ever made about Kingdom
The
Hearts.
first
Birth by
one.
Sleep is the best.
No. That's not true. That I've clearly made other true statements about Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
That's
One.
awesome.
And 3. And 3.
You mean 2.5? Because I don't think 3 ever came out.
2.9. 2.9.
I'll concede 2.9.
There we go. For me, I step back into the world of Final Fantasy 11, which has been nice. Some more No Rest for the Wicked as well. The downside is that for the last 3 days, because Steam Deck was updating, I couldn't play any of my Steam games. So I continued to make progress on Super Mario RPG on my Switch 2, which is my working Switch 2, which my kids are not allowed to ever
For now.
touch. Don't even, well, geez, yeah, I need to maybe hide it. But all that being said, like I'm just having fun. Lots of fun stuff coming up. I did pick up 16 on Play Anywhere, and I haven't stepped back into it. I beat it on the on the PlayStation 5, and so, but I'm glad I have it through here. And I'm honestly I'm looking forward to the Donkey Kong game. I'm really
Very
looking
soon.
forward to Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm really just waiting to see is Tactics also Play Anywhere, because it's on Xbox.
Yeah.
They've
I'm hoping
released
it is.
most of their games. Square Enix has been putting their games on Play Anywhere, but it doesn't have that kind of announcement, and it's not on the PC side of things, but it's coming to Steam. So I'm just like, all right, I haven't pre-ordered. Basically, that's a long-winded way of saying I haven't pre-ordered, but I'd love to hear what you guys are playing. If you watch all the way to the end of this podcast, thanks so much. Give us a review if you're listening to the MP3. Otherwise, leave a like, leave a comment. That's a great way of supporting it. Go check the description for Chrono, Scrags, and the other Roundtable content creators that you can go follow and check out the stuff that they're putting out on the YouTubes. And special thank you to RSJ fan and Yamron, number 1, number 2 fans. We see Sir Stripes in chat. There's a couple of people who are chatting, but they're not getting a badge. So looks like YouTube's doing some interesting things finally on the live streaming aspect. So thank you all so much for being here, and just keep, I guess, on chatting, and we'll see what happens. I'll have to learn more about this top fan stuff, but all that being said, guys, that's the show for the week. Thanks for kind of tuning in, especially we'll be back next Friday at our normal time, and hope you guys all have a fun, safe, and fantastic holiday weekend. So stay safe out there. We'll see you next week.